the main reason that kids are in foster care is because of neglect. And, again, that could be so subjective to what neglect is. And a lot of the times, the neglect can be so temporary or so easily fixed with some sort of supportive services. And a lot of the times, well, most of the time, CPS is so quick to remove kids, but they're so slow to give kids back. And, people try to, paint foster care as, this beautiful and wonderful thing. And I don't want to diminish the amazing foster parents that are out there, because there are some truly incredible, truly amazing foster parents that have done some amazing things for kids, that continue to do amazing things for kids, and that are truly in it for the right reasons. They support families, they support reunification, and they do amazing things to help kids and families. But then you have, these other foster parents who, are in it for the wrong reasons. They're in it because they're infertile and they're trying to grow their family through foster care. And, they get attached to people's kids, and they don't want the children that are placed with them to reunify with their parents, because they've now become attached to them and they feel like they're their property, or they have some sort of ownership to someone else's children. Or you have these foster parents who do what I call is career fostering, and they foster parent so much that they receive a lot of money from the state, and that's how they make their ends meet, and that's how they pay their bills. So they take kids that are either extremely hard to place by behavioral needs, or they have some sort of mental health disorder or special needs that make them difficult to place, or they have a higher level of care, and they get a significant amount more money per month for each kid in placement. So there's a maximum amount of kids that can be placed in a home at any amount of time. And I think that that's going to vary from state to state and depending on the circumstances of each foster home. But in Wisconsin, I've seen, as much as, 6 to 8 kiddos at one time. And, these kiddos are getting $2,000 a month in placement. And, so that's 12,000, $16,000 a month in non-taxable money that these foster parents are getting. And I'm not saying that foster parents shouldn't be compensated to help support these kids, because they absolutely should be. But, I think as a foster care system and as a child welfare system, we have to really look at how many foster kids a foster parent can truly take on, and what's best for kids. We're taking kids out of homes and paying $2,000 for this non-relative, non-kin person to care for this kid, when we could be using $2,000 a month to help support a family get back on their feet, or help support a kin placement and allow a family to stay together, and shorten the amount of time that kids are in out of home care, shorten the amount of adoptions that occur, or at least adoptions to non-family or non-like kin, and shorten the amount of trauma that happens to all these kids that are involved in the child welfare system. And then you have these foster parents who have these kids that are special needs, who have these high behavioral needs, and then they start abusing these kids. And it's because they can't manage the amount of kids they have and the behaviors that they have. And And I don't believe that most foster parents get into fostering because they have ill intent. I believe most people are good. And I believe that most foster parents get into it with the purest of intentions and that they want to do the right thing and that they want to help kids and families and that they want to make a difference in the lives of kids. And I think that what happens is that they start down this slippery slope of, okay, well, I have two kids, I could just take one more, and then I'll just take one more. And then they have a hard time saying no. And then the first incident happens, and then it's like, okay, well, I just won't do it again. And then they do it again. And then it becomes a slippery slope of, and then now all of a sudden they're abusing kids, and then they find themselves in a position where they never thought that they'd be. Um, and then you have these people who were good people now doing unspeakable things that you would never see them or never would have thought of them doing before this. Um, so people like to think that foster care is just this beautiful thing, and it's not, and it's traumatizing, and there's so much sexual abuse that happens in foster homes, and it doesn't need to be by foster parents. It could be by someone within the foster parents family. It could be by another foster child in the home. It could be by the foster parent's child in the home. It could be the foster child abusing the foster parent's child. It could be someone within the neighborhood abusing that foster child. So there's so many dynamics that are playing out in when a child is placed in a foster home that I don't think people realize how big of a picture things really are when a child is removed from home and placed into an unfamiliar situation, and just all the dynamics that play out there, and you truly don't know someone. And I can't imagine how terrifying it would be as a parent to not know who is caring for your kids, and to be a kid and not know who is caring for you, and not knowing if you're safe, not knowing what you're going to eat, if they know what your favorite song is, what your nighttime routine is, or what your favorite food is if you're going to have your blanket at bedtime, just how scary those things are. And people like to believe that kids are better off because they have more more money, or they're able to go on trips to Disney. And I can tell you from personal experience, you know, kids just want their parents. And parents can do a lot of horrible things to their kids, and their kids still love their parents, and they still want to be with their parents, and they would choose their parents over anybody. And I think a lot of people don't realize the impact of how important that relationship is.